Hello and welcome to Dungeon Dining with me, the Dragon, Sail Rice. Well then folks, today we're making budget meals. That is plural, budget meals. Now, have you ever been in this situation? Your paycheck is not for another week and you're low on funds. And you don't want to just eat ramen noodles and PB&Js. And otherwise, you don't want to end up like Jerry.
Hi everyone, I'm Jerry. I ate my fingernails. And my fingers!
Well here, I'm gonna help you out. You see, with just $15, we're gonna make 3 meals, 5 servings each. We're gonna start off with a light breakfast of mango wontons. Then, for a more hearty lunch, you're gonna have wonton soup. And lastly for dinner, we're gonna have spaghetti and meatballs. Now bear in mind with my budgets, I do not count the following: herbs, spices, condiments, and staples. Staples include the things you might already have at home, be it cooking fats, milk, eggs, and anything inexpensive to use on a regular basis.
Hello there, disclaimer from Editor's Tale. The price of eggs have since risen after the recording of this video, so apologies to you viewers, but the meals here are still otherwise delicious and cost effective.
But hey, let's not slow down the pace, let's go buy our food. Alrighty then, with our stuff box, let's get to cooking. Alrighty then, we're going to start off first with our breakfast and our lunch. So as you can see, I've already done some prep for both of them. That is to say, I've done work on the hardest part, making the wontons. So our breakfast wontons consist of cream cheese and mangoes. So I took our original mango and got as much out of it as I possibly could have. First I sliced off the stem, then I cut it from half all around the seed. Then I peeled both sides and popped them off the seed. Now when it comes to mangoes, I have a trick that I like to use. So I cut them into a nice grid and I pop them out. Now watch with just one hand how I pop off these bits of mango with my thumb. Look at how easy they come out of there. Now if you want to get flesh off of the seed, be very careful with slicing it because it's very slippery. Instead, I recommend squeezing as much pulp out of it as you can. So I sliced it into smaller bits and got a pan heated up. I put a tablespoon of butter, threw in our mango, and threw in a combination of a teaspoon's worth each of cinnamon, nutmeg, and vanilla extract, and a dash of cloves. Cloves are very strong, but I like their flavor, so I'm being safe with this. Or if you want to dodge measuring, use some pumpkin spice if you have any. Oh, and lastly, a tablespoon's worth of brown sugar. So I took that and our 8 ounces of cream cheese and mixed them together. To be health conscious, you can use cottage cheese instead of cream cheese, as a means of having less fat content. And as you can see here, I'm going to fry these wontons, which is not the healthiest thing to do with them. If you want to go about it in a healthier way, I'd say air fry them instead. I would recommend baking, but I haven't tried it myself yet. But I have made these before in different forms. Say you don't have mangoes, you have jam, or you have other fruit. Throw those in with a conjunction of cream cheese or cottage cheese. Control your seasonings and sugar or lack thereof. And if you play your cards right, you actually might have a more healthy breakfast than I have right here. So with that, let's turn the heat on for the oil. And let me then explain our lunch. So as you know, our lunch is going to be a wonton soup. Now when I make wonton soup, it's more or less a glorified version of an egg drop soup. Now egg drop soup is one of the most versatile and budget-friendly foods that you can make. As you can see here, I'm making fried rice, beef broccoli stir fry, and egg drop soup for my cousins. I fed some of my family with the soup, and let me tell you, it is simple, tasty stuff. And all we're doing here really is just adding wontons to it, which is more filling and more delicious. Oh, and I should note, I checked the serving size on the wonton wrapper package, and it looks like there should be 51 wrappers in one package. And after counting all of these, I made 26 soup wontons and 26 breakfast wontons. So per each serving we have 5 wontons, and I guess a bonus one each. But anywho, back to the soup. I have here 10 cups of water, and I can see here the bubbles are starting to arise. Now, a staple I recommend to everybody, unless you're vegan or vegetarian, is some chicken bouillon. Now, the great thing is you can make so much soup out of this, and it costs just about as much as, say, a couple of these seasonings over here. And it isn't only good for making stock. If you see in my last video, I used chicken bouillon to season a meatloaf. And that's honestly one of the oldest tricks in the book. So 1 teaspoon with 1 cup of water makes a cup of broth. But 3 teaspoons make a tablespoon. And I have here 10 cups of water. From what source? The freest source, my sink. So I have here not 9, but 4 tablespoons. So that's about 12 teaspoons worth of chicken bouillon. That is 2 more than necessary, but that's extra flavor. So, gonna add that real fast. Ladle, 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 ladle. Now we're not just using that. I would say for any Asian egg drop soup, you need sesame oil. And this stuff can be potent, so I'm using a tablespoon's worth. Oh, and for flavor and a little bit of heat, I'm gonna add sriracha sauce. I recommend this because it's semi-common to get your hands on. But for me, I would either use this or chili paste. And add that. Another stir around. And lastly, for salt content, a tablespoon's worth of soy sauce. Now we need 2 more things for egg drop soup. Another staple, I have 3 eggs. Now if you're making this particular recipe and you're low on eggs, that's fine. This will add some body to your soup. This will make up the bulk of what you're gonna eat. So put the ladle in here and slowly pour that egg in a circular motion. And one last thing. So I took our stuffed green onions, cut it in half, and put half of them in the wonton mix. And the other half is for the soup. But I kept the roots. I want to get as much flavor out of the soup as possible, so I'm going to add these. But we're not going to eat them. We'll fish these out later. And lastly, the onions. Now, does that look like a familiar egg drop soup or what? Now, without further ado, our soup wontons. Now, these are very simple pork wontons. I took half of our ground pork and threw in a teaspoon's worth of garlic powder and a tablespoon's worth each of oyster sauce, soy sauce, sriracha sauce, and that other half of our green onions. Now I used the wider part of them for the flavor here, and for presentation kept the green ones for the soup. Now the $15 in question here is, how do you know these are done cooking? And I'll tell you, when they float up. Again, I've made this recipe for myself before, and I will say, that's how you know. Loop. Loop. Now, I don't want to crowd the pot too much, so I put half of them in there for now. And I should mention, I folded these 2 different types of wontons in 2 different ways. With the breakfast wontons, I wetted the wrappers, folded them into a triangle, and crimped them shut with a fork. Similarly, I also folded these into triangles, but I closed the left, right, and top sides like an envelope. And I wet them some more and squeeze them a bit, helping the cornstarch on these things bind them together. And we should probably get started on those breakfast wontons. And for no cross-contamination, keep well away from the meat ones. And keep an eye at this, that smells good so far. And what better thing to use to flip these things than a chopstick? Now let's be very delicate here, and lay them carefully in the oil. And these don't need too long to fry. I'd say use your head, keep your eye on the color, and flip them about a minute on each side. If it's gold, it's going to get darker when it dries. Now let me show you all a view of what I'm looking at right now. Oh, if your wontons are crispy enough, let them back in that bath of hot oil again. And now the rest is just a matter of time. And with that in mind, I'm going to do a time skip. Okay, we're back. So, as you can see from this additional footage, the wontons from the soup rose above. And the breakfast wontons fried nicely. I flipped them over with the chopsticks and laid them on a paper towel on a plate. And as you can see, with both the lunch and the breakfast, we have 5 servings. 5 wontons in the soup and 5 breakfast wontons. Now with the breakfast wontons, if you want to, cover them with a little bit of cinnamon or sugar. And in my case, I took the liberty of getting some powdered sugar and putting it on one of them. Don't those look tasty? And aside from the bowl here that I'm about to eat, I packaged the rest. Oh, and before I have lunch and make us our dinner, I've earned this. Those are nice. Oh, one more thing. Oh, it's savory. Yes, bye. That is so good. Alright, to stop this from getting weird. Alright then, now dinner time. Alright then, so on to our last meal, our dinner. And it's a dinner of spaghetti and meatballs. Now off camera, I already prepared the meatballs. I took our remaining ground pork, threw in an egg, and I mixed in half a tablespoon's worth each of garlic powder, onion powder, and thyme. I have mixed up nice and good, pan fried in olive oil, and here we have our meatballs. But you see here, I still have the pan for our meatballs. And that, my friends, is for flavor. So first we're going to saute our tomato paste. Now I want to get as much flavor-wise out of this as possible. Now, from what I understand, if you want a sauce that tastes like it's been brewed for hours, saute your paste a bit. You get a little extra touch of olive oil. And you're going to have that meaty flavor in our sauce. And let's not forget our seasonings. Now we're making a very simple spaghetti sauce here. For myself personally, when it comes to the meatballs and the sauce, I would add chili flakes. But for simplicity's sake, I have here onion powder, garlic powder, and for a variety of herbs, I got some Italian seasoning. Now there are many varieties of Italian seasoning. This one's from a dollar store right here, and this one has basil, oregano, and thyme in it. All great herbs. At different Italian seasonings have many more herbs in them. But again, we're going simple here. So I'm going to do a tablespoon's worth of all of these. And throwing them in now is going to enhance the flavor. Getting a wooden spatula, throwing that in there. And here we have a pot of water boiling. And we have here 2 pounds of spaghetti noodles. Now I know this is nowhere near authentic. And to begin with, spaghetti and meatballs is an Italian-American recipe. But out of respect to my Italian friends, I'm not going to break this pasta. Now you might be wondering, Stale, how do I fit all that pasta into one pot? I'll show you. The answer? Let nature do the work. Once these noodles get nice and soft, they're going to start bending a bit. Then we can submerge the rest of the noodles. I think our paste here has cooked enough. So then, let's add our crushed tomatoes. And to prevent spitting, I have a lid. And push those noodles down. And remember to follow those box instructions. Now with tomato sauce with a little more money, I would get an onion, chop the thing up, and saute that with tomato paste. Make it nice and hearty. And same thing with some garlic too. But again, nothing wrong with the substitutes. Either way, this is going to be wholesome and delicious. Oh, did you hear that noise? Give me just a moment.
Hey there, neighbors. Just checking in on you guys. I heard some knocking and thrashing about. Come to think of it, I might have heard that the other day too. I think I heard some moaning as well. I hope everything's okay over here, guys. Also, I noticed there's a big hole in your door. I don't know what's up with that. Anyways, hope you all doing good. Have a nice day.
Alright then, time to get back to... Wait, what? Who tidied up mine? Whatever. Alright then, our sauce is looking good, and so are our noodles. I'm gonna turn things down a little bit, take the lid off. Let me get half a cup's worth of our pasta water. Now you don't have to do this, but some people like their sauce a bit more saucy. Now I like mine hearty, but I'm not cooking for just myself. So here we go. Mix that up good. And for now, there we go. Lid. And aside from instructions, the best way to know your noodles are done is to eat one. Just don't burn your mouth. You don't want to choke on the noodle.
Stop it. Get some help.
Now let's see. That seems ready to me. Turn off the heat. And we're gonna strain this. I'll be right back. Okay, that is our pasta drained and plated. And now, lastly, the sauce and the meatballs. So, just a moment there. And there we go. That right there is our spaghetti and meatballs, which is the last of our 3 meals. I forgot to mention one thing. I made 26 meatballs, so all of them but one have 5 each. And last thing, I topped them with some parsley. Just look at that. And there we have it. Now what I want to illustrate for you folks is the multi-use of items. You see, we took one meat and we used it for 2 separate meals. And the wonton, we used that for a breakfast item and for lunch. And say you didn't want to have fruit wontons for breakfast, you could throw in eggs instead. And with the spaghetti sauce, you can do so much with that. I know I did 3 simple ingredients, but you can do so much more for it. Like I said before, throw in an onion, or heck, throw in some mushrooms, or a bell pepper.
Oh, and one more thing. Here's something my boyfriend made for me while I was editing this video.
Well then, without much more to say, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time in my dungeon.